Hi there, I'm Lois Strachan, and welcome to my YouTube channel and welcome to the Blindness Tips, Tricks, and Tools playlist. One of my members of my community reached out recently and said, Lois, help! What are the best fonts to use in print and electronic media for people who are low vision? Now, I'm not low vision, so I reached out to someone I know who is an expert in this field. Jennifer Webster, thank you for coming and helping me with this inquiry. So, Jenny,
Thank you.
what advice can you give to say what are the best types of fonts that will make something more readable for someone
Mm.
with low vision?
This is asking like how long is a piece of string?
Sure.
There are different kinds of low vision, but I can give some general considerations. Usually for low vision, if it comes to people with a macular degeneration, so they've lost the ability to focus, usually, and if they're relying on magnification, then usually it's helpful to have fonts that are more rounded because you're able to recognize the word by the shape of the shape of the word rather than just the individual letters. So what I found very confusing, so I've had low vision most of my life, but also picked up a lot of tips and tricks from occupational therapists and people who are expert in the fields in low vision. And what they've found that rounded writing is better, lowercase for people who are recognizing words. So that would go for dyslexia as well. If you can see the front of the word is taller than the back of the word, you might
Mm.
say, oh, that says llama, Whereas if that was all in capitals, then it just looks like a block of letters, all the capitals together, and especially if it's a narrow font. So narrow fonts are very difficult. I like the Helveticas, the sans serifs, sans, even the Comic Sans. I know it's gone out of fashion, can be very helpful. And so, obviously, when people are using digital content, there's a certain amount of flexibility that the user has. And it's important for people to work out what looks better for me and what is that font called. Even to bring up the fonts on their word processor and to go through those to see, oh, this one looks nice for me. Um, then also to consider um, the background against which the font appears. So whether it's a print background or a digital background, the glare that is coming off the background, and the contrast. So when we're looking at fonts and the recognition of words, we're not just looking at um, the actual typeface. We're looking at the whole environment of what it is together with the eye disease. Some people need less contrast or they need less glare off the screen, and others prefer bright white and others prefer a dark mode. So depending on which mode suits your eyes better, that'll allow you to then choose a font that's suitable. But generally, as I said, to go for the lowercase fonts and rounded, but also to look at the size of the fonts. So it seems like a contradiction, but size is also very important when it comes to what magnifier, handheld magnifier the person is perhaps using, or what software they're using on their computer to access the words. So also the appearance of the paragraphs, are they justified or are they indented? So with low vision and dyslexia, you're recognizing the words by the whole environment. And so if you've got very long lines and using a magnifier, it's very difficult to get back to the following line because you're reading along so close to your face. And so that's why to use, the particular font that suits you, a background that's not too glary, as always very bright if that's what you need, and that's easily adjustable in your device. Um, but also to look at whether you're using columns or rows. So if it's content you're creating for yourself and you're magnifying, I prefer to have a narrow column. So even for myself writing telephone numbers, to write the three numbers and then three numbers and then four numbers below each other. Because when you're magnifying, you don't have to look along the line. It's
Mm.
right, you magnified into that space and it's not going outside the realms of your magnifier. So there are many considerations in this regard. I think if you're doing it for educational purposes, it's also important to say if you're enlarging an exam paper for a learner, to find out from them, do they see better off a yellow paper
Yeah.
or sort of what we used to call scrapbook paper? It's kind of
Mm.
brownish, more newsprint type. Could be easier for them than white paper. And then do they want lines? And how bold are those lines? So there are many considerations in helping to identify the font, depending whether you're the user or you are the carer or teacher, or whether you are the designer of that space. So yeah, there's a lot to consider there.
It sounds like it, and I think that possibly this is a topic that you and I should pick up in one of my podcast episodes, that we will definitely look at the possibility of that. Now, Jenny, I believe that you have on your website, you do also have more information about this, and we'll include a link to some other resources that you have available on your site and include those in the episode description here. But just to help people find out more about you and the work that you are doing as a low vision consultant, where can people find you online?
They can find me online at www.curable.co. Let me try again. www.curable.co.za.
Super, Jenny. Thank
So,
you so much.
mm,
And if anyone wants to find out more about me and the work I'm doing, my website is loisstrachan.com, and I'm under my name, Lois Strachan, on LinkedIn, on Facebook, and here on YouTube. Thanks so much for watching. Really appreciate it. Have a look at some of the other videos, and if you've got any questions, drop them in the comments. See you next time.